Welcome to Outrage Science Bites, where we explore the science behind outrage, political polarization, and the ways modern media is fueling division, all in bite-sized episodes. I'm your host, David Beckmeyer, and this week's theme is the role of media and social media, and how it plays a pivotal role in stoking outrage. Today's episode focuses on the world of echo chambers, spaces where we surround ourselves with like-minded individuals, reinforcing our beliefs and shutting out opposing views. How do echo chambers amplify outrage? And what is the role of social media, politics, and identity in creating this divide? Today we'll hear from 4 experts offering insights into how echo chambers take hold and why they're so effective at fueling anger and mistrust. Let's start with Peter Ditto, a professor of psychological science who paints a picture of how sorting across ideological and demographic lines has intensified division.
Everything's sorted not just ideologically, so that all the liberals in the Democratic Party, all the conservatives are in the Republican Party, but everything's sorted demographically, much so that all the liberals are people, I mean, again, these are exaggerations, but liberals are people of color, and conservatives are white, and so all the racial and ethnic lines, everything goes together, and those are really ancient. These are ancient sort of prejudices we have against people who don't look like us, people who aren't in our group, and everything's working in concert now to sort of just say, here's this group that just seems completely different and foreign to me. And that just makes it easier to hate, easier, when all your prejudices are sort of lined up.
As Ditto explained, it's not just ideology that divides us. It's a complex intersection of race, ethnicity, and deep-seated prejudices that have been around for generations. When we see entire groups as fundamentally different, it becomes easier to distrust and even despise those who don't align with our in-group. This is one of the key ways echo chambers operate. They reinforce existing biases, turning differences into reasons for contempt. Next, we turn to Jonathan Stray, a computational journalist who explores the impact of social media. He offers an important perspective on how modern media amplifies this divide, not just by isolating us in small filter bubbles, but by exposing us to a wider world of people, leading to a decline of diverse political communities, and instead rallying around national narratives.
One of the stronger theories for what is happening on social media is not that we are stuck in our little echo chamber filter bubbles, but that we are now more exposed to people at a national level, people far away in our social network. And that allows us to more efficiently sort into 2 groups. And so what we get, rather than having sort of a patchwork of little local sort of ideologically, quirky sort of communities where you've got sort of weird combinations of they're very pro-choice, but also very pro-gun because, it's a rural area where they've got a big hunting tradition or something. So what we used to have in this country is this weird patchwork of sort of little polities. And now what's happened is everything is becoming nationalized. And that is a function of social media showing us distant others. It is a function of the nationalization of news media, where the media is being dominated by a few national players, and also the nationalization of politics, where split ticket voting has almost all but disappeared.
What Stray is describing here is a shift from local, quirky communities to a broader, nationalized identity. Instead of engaging with the diverse political quirks of our immediate surroundings, we're increasingly polarized along 2 dominant lines. Social media and nationalized news put us in contact with distant others, making it easier to categorize people into us versus them. This drives the formation of echo chambers where national politics divides are sharpened. But is there a way to break through these echo chambers? According to Ritsart Ryman, a researcher in political psychology, the key might lie in reducing the salience of political identity. He explains how non-political interactions can help bridge divides.
So I think that's one thing, is that once you make that political identity less salient, people will be more open to each other, right? So if we first meet each other and we're discussing a sport that we both like, right? We're playing a game that we both like, then we start building positive affect towards each other. And if, after a couple of hours of doing that, I found out that you're on one side of the political spectrum and I'm on the other side, I already like you as a person. And if I already like you as a person, that could actually make me realize like, hey, these people from the other side aren't so bad, right? And what seems to happen a lot, especially online and also in the general media, is that we're introduced qua our political identities, right? So that's the first thing that we get to know about someone is their political identity. And when you start on that foot, then you kind of take away the space for people to get to know each other and to actually realize that they have a lot in common.
Ritsart's point of view is crucial. When we meet people outside the lens of politics, whether through shared interests or personal connections, our first impression isn't clouded by preconceived political notions. We see the person first, not their political stance. This approach could help us break through the walls of echo chambers by building empathy and understanding before politics even enters the conversation. Finally, Andrew Selepak, an expert on media and communication, brings us back to the dangers of echo chambers, particularly when they are fueled by partisan media. He warns about the risks of seeing the world in binary terms of good versus evil with no room for compromise.
When you heavily partisan or echo chamber partisan media, you're dealing with people in two different realities. And in my reality, there is the truth. And you can't understand the reality of the other person. And then combined with the sort of outrage that's being fed by my reality of the other side is evil. So there's no way to compromise. There's no way of forming a consensus when people are living in two different truths and view the opposition as evil. I can't understand them and they're evil. And the mindset that can create can become exceedingly dangerous when you view the opposition or people who believe differently than you are bringing us to this, precipice of hell. So you can think people say, oh, we're most divided we've ever been. Luckily, we're not. The 1860s really would kind of, stand up and say, hey, I think we were more divided, at this point than you are in 2024. But, if you want to put on a tinfoil hat and start conspiracy theorying it a little bit, you could see where, okay, how far away are we from that potentially when we can't view somebody simply because they have a different opinion on immigration or abortion as being a good person, but instead we view them as evil. And that's a really dangerous position because of the potential fallout and the potential end result that can create.
Selepak highlights the alarming consequences of echo chambers when combined with outrage-fueled media. When people live in completely separate realities, each convinced their truth is the only truth, it becomes nearly impossible to bridge the divide. This inability to see the other side as human, let alone as someone with valid concerns, can escalate tensions dangerously. So what can we do about echo chambers? Awareness is the first step. Understanding how social media, news, and identity fuel these divisions can help us take a step back. Building non-political connections, engaging with diverse viewpoints, and resisting the temptation to view the other side as an enemy are essential tools in breaking down the walls of echo chambers. Thanks for joining me today on Outrage Science Bites. If you found this episode insightful, you may want to check out the long-form Outrage Overload podcast. Visit outrageoverload.net for past episodes, links, and contact information. Together, we can push back against outrage and build a more empathetic, informed society. Till next time, I'm David Beckmeyer.